Thank you very much. I used to speak in Spanglish, but this time I'll speak in English, so everybody can follow what I'm saying. I'm the International Director for Hatuna Foundation. We help refugees. We rescue refugees. Real refugees, not the gold diggers that take themselves here for thousands of Swedish krona. I'm standing here today to speak the truth. Unluckily, the truth in these days does not include a happy ending. I would say to you, and I would say to those who govern this country and their partners, who used to be considered as the opposition. This nation currently finds itself in a rapidly accelerating downhill journey. Hello. Unfortunately, Sweden is not alone on this shattering expedition. Most of the West European nations are strongly competing with each other about who will be the first country succeeding in terminating itself. You have to understand that our leaders in these days do not reward people who are able to look into the future. Read and cat, there is something wrong with this microphone. They call us who can read the patterns and look into the future and predict, sometimes right, how it will go, unfortunately. They call us pessimists and doomsayers. So much gratefulness for being able to read the outlines of our destiny. The that reads, check. What is wrong with this? Hello. Well, there's something wrong with the microphone, and I think they're trying to stop me. This is really, they're trying to stop me from over there. The small green men or the red ones. The primary event that recently changed the picture in Europe from slowly killing itself to the ongoing situation of permanent rapid suicide was this autumn's exploding refugee tragedy in the Middle East. But the migration rush towards Europe, Germany and Sweden in particular, it could have been avoided. Instead, the situation went totally out of control and converted into a human disaster for real refugees as well as the original Europeans. Our leaders and their comrades in the European Union were blind. They all were more occupied by hunting imaginary races, just like those assholes over there, than analyzing the world outside their own safe backyard. More than a year ago, already in October 2014, I started to yell about the fallacious refugee situation in the Middle East. What? Ja, they about go. I don't know.
Ja, ni hör mig bra, eller hur? Ja. Eventuellt så är det är så mycket radioapparater och grejer, så eventuellt är det de trådlösa signaler som råkar förstöra.
Okay, I will go closer to the equipment here. More than a year ago, already in October 2014, I started to yell about the fallacious refugee situation in the Middle East. Regrettably, the mainstream media, as well as the politicians from A to Z, denied to listen and tell the audience the truth. Instead, they crucified me, the messenger, and called me a Nazi, a racist, and hanged me out on the front pages as I was the devil himself, and then they all continued to lie. Let me tell you, the pictures they showed you and still published here, there and everywhere from the official refugee camps run by the UNHCR are far away from the truth. The truth is that these well-organized camps only host 10% of the refugees in the area. The rest of the people on the run live in informal settlements or wrecked buildings left by their owners during the war. With other words, 90% or millions of the refugees from the Iraqi and Syrian crisis live in an indescribable slum with no help. These people are tough, depending on private NGOs. Most of them have no support from any state or any government. They are left alone, abandoned by the global society. The Hatuna Foundation is one of these private or independent non-government organizations. We are completely depending on private fundings, which means that countless Christians and Yazidis are reliant on the help that we get from our donors. That means you. And what has all that to do with Europe and Sweden in particular? As I said a moment ago, the European politicians and the Swedish leadership in particular have been deaf and blind for the outcome of this situation. They have been totally unable to see the devil painted all over them. Thank you very much. Instead of understanding that this accumulation of millions of people with no hope, no future, and not enough food for adequate shelter for the winter, eventually would result in an overwhelming breakout, they just continued to talk about the gloriful UNHCR. If we just give them more money, everything will be okay. Even the Sweden Democrats leaders are no exception here. On the contrary, their blind faith in the UNHCR's ability to host and feed the millions of refugees in the area is another fatal error that proves that there is no gloriful or easy way out for those who really suffer there. In this breakout, a lot of relatively strong young people, mainly men, you have seen them all over, all too often from Afghanistan, North Africa. Most of them with no legal rights to obtain asylum, have used the occasion and boarded the ship, so to speak. They have bought a trip from a trafficker, all inclusive. 10 to 15,000 euro is the price per person. That they can afford, while the real refugees who have lost everything, fleeing the bloodthirsty monsters calling themselves Al-Nusra or Islamic State, are stuck in the temporary camp in the shadow of the Shingle Mountains or in an abandoned building in the middle of no man's land. You have to realize that a young man who can afford to go to Sweden alone achieves unlimited help and support from you, the taxpayers. In monetary terms, we talk about 200,000 euro per year per person. After that, there is nothing left for the real suffering people in the cold mountains around Mosul, Sinjar, Tal Afar, and so on. Here, we could help 200 real victims for the cost of one single gold digger in Sweden. If only our leaders have had the brains to calculate and understand the lowest level of mathematics, we could do that. I cannot stop thinking that our leaders do this on purpose, as they seem more willing to open the door for those who perform the violence than those who are victims under it. Economically, it's a disaster. For the nation, it's a disaster. For the state, it is a disaster. For us all, it is a disaster. I have a little water. Cheers. You don't know what that's in that bottle. There can only be one or two reasons for this behavior that the politicians do not see how things are connected. Our leaders are so stupid that they do not know what they're doing, or they want to create chaos. Personally, I'm a believer of the first. It's much easier than any other theory. I'm a voice for the voiceless. I have to stress that fact. That although Germany in many ways behaved just as stupid as Sweden and many other European countries, they have shown that they are good-hearted. For real. Germany is the only country in Europe that has vowed to help the Yazidis through their worst Holocaust ever. In Sweden, there are no such ideas. Margot Wallström has denied to offer any special treatment to the Yazidis. There are not so many. Could it be because the Yazidi nation is a small nation? Before the single Holocaust performed by Islamic State, with good help from the many local Muslims in the area, lived more than 500,000 Yazidis and approximately the same number of Christians together in peace with each other. More than 300,000 Yazidis has lost everything and are now on the run, and so are more than 200,000 Christians in Iraq. And why? Just because they have another fate than the Muslim majority. A week ago, down in Germany, I met some of the Christian and Yazidi refugees that Germany takes care of. They are happy to be here in Europe, but that is a but. They do not understand how we are thinking. Every day they are confronted with their fear when they walk the streets. They see the same people in the streets, at the bus stop, in the supermarket, everywhere. The men who have persecuted and abused them, killed their parents, murdered their brothers, and raped and depraved their mothers and sisters. I also interviewed one of the victims from Sigel. It was a man who survived after being shot 7 times, and after that, together with 450 countrymen, were thrown into a mass grave. By the grace of God, he was able to get up from the grave and then walked with his wounds, hungry and thirsty, for 15 days over the mountains, while he saw his family and comrades fall to the ground and die in front of his eyes. During this horrible escape over Single in August 2014, I had messages from this hero. For centuries, we have lived in peace and good neighborship with our Christian brothers and sisters. For centuries, we together have been harassed and persecuted by the Muslims. They have raped our daughters and stabbed our sons in the back if they did not show them submissive respect. They have tarnished our wives and they have humiliated us in all imaginable ways. We cannot live with them. Please help us and help the Christians and us to get back our land so we can live together in peace. And please help us get rid of the Muslims, for we cannot, and the Christians from here can never live together with them. They will not let other people live in peace. I warn you, what you are doing now in Europe, open your borders for so many Muslims. You have no idea. And then he cried. We are facing very hard times if we are not willing to talk about the problems we are into up over our heads, not willing to address the greatest danger of our time. If we close our eyes and close our ears to see, not to hear, and hold us for our noses, not to smell the stink of the evil culture taking over more and more, then we are doomed. I would want to end this speech using a couple of Sir Winston Churchill words. If we let Islam take over and refuse to defend ourselves, the civilization of modern Europe might fall, as fell the civilization of the ancient Rome. May I present the next speaker, that is Stefan Torsell.